So the superior relations of the cavernous sinus includes optic chiasma and the optic tract, and the artery is the internal carotid artery. So that is the superior relations. The inferior relations is having one important area, that is the foramen lacerum, through which you can say the internal carotid artery comes into the cavernous part of the cavernous sinus. Medially, we have got the pituitary gland, as you can see here, which is being covered by the diaphragm sellae here. So this is the stalk of the pituitary gland. So medially there is pituitary gland, and below the pituitary gland we have got this sphenoidal air sinus. Laterally, in this fossa, middle cranial fossa, on the lateral aspect of this cavernous sinus, we have got the temporal lobe of the brain, cerebral hemisphere, and here there is on each side, where this on the anterior aspect of the superior anterior aspect of the petrous part of the temporal bone, we have got a cave-like structure that is called as the cavum trigeminale or the Meckel's cave. You will learn about these details in the future lectures also. Anteriorly, we already know it is related with the superior orbital fissure, and posteriorly to the apex of the petrous part of the temporal bone. So now what are the structures in the lateral wall? So this is the schematic diagram. This is the pituitary fossa with the pituitary gland. So you can say the medial relations of the cavernous sinus. This is the cavernous sinus present between the meningeal layer of the dura mater and the endosteal layer. This endosteal layer is forming the floor, and the meningeal layer is forming the roof and the lateral wall. And this cavernous sinus is related medially with the pituitary gland, superiorly with the optic chiasma and the internal carotid artery, and here this is the sphenoidal air sinus. So this is the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus, and the structures present in them are, from above downwards we have got the oculomotor nerve, trochlear nerve, ophthalmic nerve, and the maxillary nerve. So third cranial nerve, fourth cranial nerve, and ophthalmic and the maxillary division of the trigeminal nerve. These are the nerves or the structures present in the lateral wall. These are the two structures which are passing through the cavernous sinus. So which are those two structures? So one which is the red color, that is the internal carotid artery, and the second one is the abducent nerve. So if you can remember the lecture of blood vessels of neck, we had talked about that the internal carotid artery passes through the carotid canal, then enters the petrous part of the temporal bone, and then from the upper part of the foramen lacerum it emerges out and enters the cavernous sinus, passes through the cavernous sinus, and then pierces the roof of the cavernous sinus and turns backwards to continue into the cerebral part of the cerebral part. So it had various parts, that is the cervical part, petrous part, cavernous part, and the cerebral part. So out of that, the cavernous part of the internal carotid artery lies or passes through the cavernous sinus, and here it gives superior and the inferior hypophyseal branches. So now coming to the tributaries. So now what are the tributaries? That means which are the veins or the other sinuses draining into the cavernous sinus. So first there are some veins or the sinuses draining from the meninges. So which are they? They are the sphenoparietal sinus and the anterior trunk of the middle meningeal vein. Second, there are some veins which are draining from the brain. So which are those veins? They are the inferior cerebral vein. There can be more than one inferior cerebral vein, and the superficial middle cerebral vein, which is only always single. The inferior cerebral veins can be more than one, and superficial middle cerebral vein is always singular. And from the orbit, the veins which are coming from the anterior aspect, these veins, they are the superior ophthalmic vein, the inferior ophthalmic vein, and the central vein of the retina. So these are the tributaries of the cavernous sinus, coming from the meninges, coming from the brain, and coming from the orbit. From the orbit we have got the superior ophthalmic vein, inferior ophthalmic vein, and the central vein of retina. So now what are the communications? That means the blood from the cavernous sinus, where does it go? Where does it drain into? So they are called as the communications of the cavernous sinus. So coming back to the old diagram, so this is the location of the cavernous sinus, as you can see here. So from here the blood can pass through the superior petrosal sinus. This is the superior petrosal sinus. It can pass through the superior petrosal sinus and drain into transverse sinus. So the first communication is through the superior petrosal sinus into the transverse sinus. Then the blood from joining from the superior petrosal sinus and the transverse sinus enters the sigmoid sinus in the S-shaped part. Along the inferior petrosal sinus, as it is present in the petro-occipital fissure, there through this inferior petrosal sinus, it drains into the internal jugular vein. The internal jugular vein is the continuation of the sigmoid sinus after passing through the jugular foramen. So this vein, the inferior petrosal sinus, passes through the through the jugular foramen and joins or communicates with the internal jugular vein. So these are the major communications. Through the superior petrosal sinus, it communicates with the transverse sinus, and through the inferior petrosal sinus, it is communicating with the internal jugular vein. If we see the other side, on the medial aspect, it is communicating with the opposite cavernous sinus by means of anterior and the posterior intercavernous sinus. Sorry, here I have mistaken, this is a spelling mistake, it is the posterior intercavernous sinus, the anterior intercavernous sinus, and this is the posterior intercavernous sinus. The inferior petrosal sinus also communicates with the basilar venous plexus, which is present on the clivus, and through the basilar venous plexus, the blood is communicating with the internal vertebral venous plexus. So through the basilar venous plexus, the cavernous sinus can communicate with the internal vertebral venous plexus. Few other communications are the facial, it communicates with the facial vein via the superior ophthalmic vein or the pterygoid venous plexus, with the superior sagittal sinus via the superior anastomotic vein of the trollard, that is the tributary of of the superficial middle cerebral vein, and with the transverse sinus again via inferior anastomotic vein of Labbé. These two are the one-liners, superior anastomotic vein of the trollard and the inferior anastomotic vein of the Labbé. So how does the blood flow? From the upper anterior aspect and the lateral aspect, so that is from the ophthalmic veins and the sphenoparietal sinus and the middle meningeal vein, the blood is draining into the cavernous sinus. From here the blood drains towards the outer aspect, that is through the superior petrosal sinus, inferior petrosal sinus, towards the transverse sinus and the basilar venous plexus, and the blood after receiving from the superior petrosal sinus and the transverse sinus enters the sigmoid sinus, and then the sigmoid sinus, after passing through the jugular foramen, continues as the internal jugular vein, and it receives a tributary, that is the inferior petrosal sinus. Applied aspect, one is the cavernous venous sinus thrombosis, that is the blockage of the sinus by the thrombus, the clot. What are the symptoms and the signs? Pain in the eye and the forehead. Ophthalmoplegia, that is the paralysis of the ocular muscles because of the involvement of the third, fourth and the sixth cranial nerves, which are present in the lateral wall or passing through the cavernous sinus. And there will be exophthalmos, that means the bulging of the eyeball outside the margins of the orbit, that is called as exophthalmos. Another important one is the carotico-cavernous communication, which can occur because of the rupture of the internal carotid artery within the cavernous sinus because of the fracture of the base of skull. So if the artery ruptures there, the bleeding will start within the cavernous sinus, so there will be congestion of the cavernous sinus, which will pass on to the eyeball. So because of that, it will lead to pulsating eyeball. With every blood spurt in the cavernous sinus, the eyeball will pulsate outside. So that is called as the pulsating exophthalmos. If you put a stethoscope over the eyeball, you can hear a loud systolic murmur there. That is called as the bruit. And because there is presence or involvement of the third and the fourth cranial, third, fourth and the sixth cranial nerves, again there will be ophthalmoplegia and also the edema of the eyelid and the orbital cavity. So that is about the applied aspect of the cavernous sinus.